You're listening to Real Talk Texas with local expert Steve Hakes. Now, here's Steve.
Welcome back. Today in the studio, we're introducing a regular contributor on our show, a new partner of the Real Talk Texas, a real expert that we're bringing in to give our listeners financial advice. And we've got Dr. Carl Howe here today. Carl, he's with Val-Trust Capital Partners, and they're located up in the Galleria Tower, office tower area in North Dallas. And your website is retirementfoundationgroup.com, which I love that name. How'd you come up with that?
Well, you know, what we do is we work with independent estate planning attorneys, third-party money managers, insurance carriers, income expert and specialists. And what we do is we try to put together a plan to meet that individual's personal retirement financial goals. And so it's really a group effort. So we like to call it Retirement Foundation Group. And on our website, I'm glad you brought that up. On our website, we have a lot of videos going over some of the things that we're talking about today. We've got information on increasing your Social Security benefits for your lifetime benefits. We've got things on lifetime income, how to set that up, the difference, in investment portfolios, looking at the differences between exchange-traded funds and mutual funds, just a plethora of
information. A great
information.
resource for people to go out there and learn about retirement.
Exactly.
Okay, and that website's retirementfoundationgroup.com.
Correct.
That's retirementfoundationgroup.com. Carl, I'm interested in why did you get into financial planning?
Wow, that goes back a ways, and I'm not going to date myself, okay? But about 34 years ago, I came to North Dallas and set up in the healthcare field, and I practiced for quite a few years. And what was interesting back then, when I first set up, is the reason I liked the healthcare field is because I got to help people, with their health and basically optimizing their health, and I could do what was in their best interest. Well, something came along. I'm a baby boomer, and later on down the road, I started looking at my own retirement and realizing that I had a problem. And what happened in the financial planning industry is kind of what happened in the healthcare industry, because after about 14, 15 years, this thing called managed care came along, and you probably remember that. Well, managed care, what it is, it's where insurance companies basically get together, you give them a diagnosis, and then they give you some protocols for treatments and examinations that are suitable for the patient's needs. Not necessarily what's in their best interest. It may be more in the interest of the insurance company, but it's suitable for their needs. And as a result, I started looking, and it was discouraging to me because it was frustrating to me. And then when I looked at my financial portfolio, I'm wondering, well, I'm working with a broker. Why am I going into these investments? What's happening here? Well, that's when I got into researching that. And I found out that in the investment industry, what happens is there's basically two types of advice. There's investment advice given generally by a stockbroker and investment advice given by an independent investment advisor. Well, and most people don't know this, only independent investment advisors have a fiduciary duty to act in the client's best interest at all times. Stockbrokers don't. Stockbrokers work for a corporation. They work for a public entity, okay? And as a result, they're held accountable to what's called suitability standards. Does that sound familiar? Same thing in the healthcare field.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all they have to do is make sure that they're putting you into something that's suitable for your portfolio.
Well, it sounds to me like, it's kind of funny because I'm in the mortgage business and we have a lot of regulations and rules and things like that. And to get to C, you got to go to B, and maybe there's no going around it and getting to D quickly because that might be the best thing to do. It just seems like, and we've gotten rid of a lot of the streamlined products and things like that we used to be able to do, which really makes a lot of sense for that. And also like for self-employed borrowers, we have issues there because, we used to be able to look at a self-employed client and treat them like a self-employed client, which is different than a W-2 wage person. But now, because of regulation and all those things, controls, it seems like we have to do things a certain way, and everybody's treated kind of the same. And the other day I went to get a prescription filled. My doctor had given me a prescription, and my insurance company wasn't going to pay for the prescription. And I was like, wait a minute. Since when did my insurance company know more than my doctor? Did they go to school as long as my doctor? I'm real confused here. Right. And I kind of let the gal at the drugstore know about it because it really torqued me off. It's kind of interesting. And, it sounds like you ran into that when you were in the medical field. And so, I'm trying to get my arms around how that relates to, because I'm not a stockbroker. I'm not a financial guy. And that's why you're here to be the expert for the show. It's kind of interesting how that, how all the controls in our daily lives now are all really changing up.
Right. Well, I'd venture to say that probably about 5 to 8% of all the financial advice given out in the marketplace is given by investment advisors. Most of it's given by stockbrokers. And as a result, a lot of times a stockbroker might even put you into a portfolio that's a house account. Well, that benefits the house more than them putting you into an account that's not a house account. But if it's suitable, it's okay. Whereas being an independent investment advisor, what we can do is we can shop around for the best portfolio that meets your specific criteria regarding risk, income goals, and future aspirations. So we want to look at the best thing for you. And so it may not necessarily just be a small group of tools that I'm given by the house. I can go out and research the marketplace and find out what's good for you.
So you made the transition from the medical field into financial because of your passion to help people and add some clarity to what they're doing in the financial world, right?
Right. And also the fact that it's kind of like being a doctor. You're a doctor of finance because what you're going to do is you're going to go in there, and on our first visit with individuals, we'll sit down with a prospective client and we'll go through, again, what their goals are, what's their needs, et cetera. Then we'll look at where they're currently at, and we're going to say, is this going to get you where you need to go, or do you need to make some modifications along the way to actually accomplish the goals that you need to accomplish in retirement? So we do that, and essentially, but the main thing is we like to build a long-term relationship. That's what it's all about. We want to build a long-term relationship with our clients. We want to know that as the markets change, we're helping them change right along with it.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to Dr. Carl Howe. He's with Val-Trust Capital Partners in North Dallas, and he's a regular contributor here now on Real Talk Texas, and we're going to have him on the show to talk about your financial needs and things that are going on in the financial marketplace. And today we're talking specifically about retirement and what's happening and what are some of the things that you're needing to do right now. And so if you want to watch some videos, which you need to go to this website, it's retirementfoundationgroup.com. That's retirementfoundationgroup.com. You can see some great videos there for any different topic, Social Security or smart moves to make. So, I'm curious, Carl, what are some of the things you're seeing? What are retirees facing today? What are some things, the common things that you're seeing when you meet with people?
Well, I think one of the big things is that they're realizing now that the buy and hold strategy doesn't work. That there's a thing called the VIX, which is the volatility index, and it measures a fear gauge in the marketplace. And, if we start with the basis point of 0, right now it's way high because there's a fear in the marketplace. Well, the VIX used to always fall along the lines of the 10-year Treasury bills because at one point in time, people can remember interest rates were high. Well, where are they now? They're down.
Very low.
They're very low. So part of the problem is you've got a bigger gap. It used to be that in the 90s, you could probably put your money in the market or you could put your money into CDs and you were safe as long as you had a correct mix. But today you can't afford not to be in the correct mix because the gap is too big. And if you make a mistake, it could basically affect you in retirement greatly.
Well, that's one of the things I keep hearing is that the returns that retirees are getting on very conservative investments. I mean, if you went to the bank and bought a CD, you're probably not even keeping up with the inflation rate today. Based on if you just sat there, you're probably losing money by doing that today. I'm sorry for those that are invested in CDs, but it's part of the portfolio mix. I'm sure that you give. Maybe here's a base part, very conservative. I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not here to give that to you. But I guess the other part is, are you running into people that maybe don't have enough in their retirement, or maybe everybody said that IRAs got hit really hard during the crash, and now the stock market's back. Are you seeing that they're doing better, or are they back to where they were, or are they still in a position where they're not where they should be in general?
I think primarily, again, it comes down to allocation. The one thing that's really important about investing is not what you put your money into, but the diversity of what you put your money into. And knowing that you've got what we talked about in the first segment, the difference between red money being invested in the market, okay? You've got stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, you got variable annuities, versus green money, which is your checking accounts, savings accounts, CDs, fixed or indexed annuities, things like that. And now we also come into a place, we've got a yellow money portfolio. And a yellow money portfolio is a managed money portfolio. It's not a buy and hold strategy. It's where somebody is actively watching your money, and they're making sure that it's not so important when you get into something as sometimes when you get out. What's your exit for those things? That's and what you're looking for is you want to beat indexes. You want to beat the S&P. You want to do better than that, okay? So you want to look for a money manager who's going to outperform in those categories.
Well, stay tuned because we're going to talk a lot more about this topic, about retirement, some of the things people are facing today. I want to get into Social Security and what your thoughts are on that as far as when people are retired or maybe they're getting ready for retirement. Want to make sure that there's some key strategies you guys have for people that are in that situation. I'm pretty curious about that. I'm 54 years old. Kind of want to know what the outlook's going to be as we go forward, and I think our listeners would want to know that as well. So if you're just tuned in, you're listening to Dr. Carl Howe. He's with Val-Trust Capital Partners, and they're in Galleria area in North Dallas. So you can set up an appointment, go see Dr. Carl Howe. Carl, great to have you on the team. We're gonna talk some more after the break about some of those key things that our listeners are wanting to hear from you as far as what's happening with Social Security. You mentioned earlier about a retirement cliff, so you want to stay tuned, find out what that is and what you need to be thinking about. We'll be back after the break.